Hi guys, welcome back to the God Medicine Coffee channel. I am Rihanna, and before I get into today's video, I just want to wish you all a happy new year. I hope that your holiday season went smoothly. You were able to enjoy the time with your friends, your family, and you were able to rest. So as you can see by the title, this is a very different video from what I normally do. I've been knitting since 2016. It's been a hobby of mine for a while, and I kind of stopped for a bit, and it definitely started back during the pandemic when I started medical school, because it kind of helps me to cope with the stress. And I especially did a lot of knitting last year. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff that I made last year. So in this video, I just want to show you some of the things that, well, all of the things that I worked on in year 2022. So without further ado, grab a cup of coffee, a snack, and let's get into the video. So the first project that I worked on is the Ondawa Cabled Bateau by Michelle Wong. That was published in Brooklyn Tweed. So this is what it looks like, and I made this using Drops Loves You number 7 in the colorway Deep Ocean, and the pattern originally calls for you to use worsted weight yarn, but I used the Drops Loves You number 7 held double, and yeah, so that's what I did for this sweater, which is it's not exactly holding. The Drops Loves You 7 double doesn't exactly get you a worsted weight, it's more of a DK weight, but I figure that, you know, it shouldn't change the sizing too much. But yeah, this is what the sweater looks like. And yeah, so the issue is that I made this a little bit too cropped. Like, I wanted to make the sweater cropped, but I made it a little bit too short. I was trying to size it with another cropped sweater that I own, and I may have gotten the measurements very wrong, so I made it a little bit too short. I might insert a picture of me wearing it. And I made this, the body, I made this in the second smallest size, but the sleeves I made in the second largest size. Yeah, and this is it's a boat neck sweater, and it doesn't it's knit flat. So what you do is that you knit the front panel, the back panel, and the sleeves flat, and you stitch everything up together. So other than the seaming of the different sections together, this project was actually a joy to knit. Like, I really enjoyed knitting this. I distinctly remember while knitting this last year, yeah, January of last year, while knitting this, I remember really enjoying the process, the actual process of knitting this. I remember like actually having fun knitting this. This was like my first like real official cabled project I've ever done. Like, I've done like one cabled project before, but it was something very small. It was a cup cozy that I made sometime in 2021, I believe. I think I have a picture of it. I'll insert a picture of it, but this was like my first real official like cabled project, and I found that the pattern was very easy to read. The charts were really easy to follow. Like, if you're not an experienced person, in my opinion, it's a very easy project to do. Like, I just love the details of this sweater. So you can see all the different types of cables on it and how textured it looks. I just love how it's flanked with these kind of triangles to the bottom. Just love how that looks. And you know, the twisted rib looks so good with the cabled texture, in my opinion. I think that is a really good detail that they added to this design, as opposed to like a normal rib. It just complements the texture of the sweater really well. And I knit this with using a cable needle. Like, I'm not a person that goes without a cable needle, and I personally found that the process of knitting up all these cables was a pleasurable experience. Like when I first saw the pattern, I thought it looked a bit intimidating. Like I kept scrolling past it. I knew that I wanted to make it, but I kept scrolling past it because of how many cables it has. It looks a bit daunting and intimidating, but the actual process of doing it was, you know, a pleasure to do. Like I think I personally think it's a beginner friendly pattern. So cool. Like look at these cables. Like I'm sorry that my camera isn't like getting the color right, but other than that, like it's a really cool sweater. It's really cool. So that's it for the Ondawa Cabled Bateau by Brooklyn Tweed, using drop sauce number 7. I love it. Right, so the next garment that I worked on was sweater number 16 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I made this in a size small using the yarn Drops of Z number 7 held together with Drops Kid Silk Mohair, both in the colorway mauve. So let me show you what this sweater looks like. So this is what it looks like. Right. So this is definitely one of my favorite sweaters that I've ever made. Like I love this sweater. Like this was the first time I've ever worked with mohair, and I get the obsession with mohair. It just, because cotton is a very dry yarn, and pairing it with mohair gives it a softness and a plushness. Like it just makes the cotton feel so much nicer. Like it gave this sweater a lot of softness and drapiness, and I just love the fluff and the halo, you know, that the mohair gives the fabric. I personally love it. I get the obsession with mohair. It is a nice material to use. So the modifications that I made to this pattern is that I made it a lot shorter than what the pattern called for. So this sweater hits like right on my waist, I think my hip, sorry. Yeah, right at my hip bone is where this sweater stops. So I think excuse me, the original the length that the pattern calls for would have stopped like on my hips itself, but this stops at the top of my hips, my hip bone. So that's one modification that I did. I also added a double knitted edge to the cuffs of the sleeves. So the pattern doesn't actually have any cuffs or anything at the sleeves. You just bind off, you know, using whatever bind off you want to. But I decided to add this to the sleeve just to, you know, just to give it something. I personally love how double knitting looks on anything. Like after I learned the technique, I've been adding it to just anything that I could, and this was definitely one of those projects. One mistake I did make was that I used 2 different needles to make the cuffs. So I think I used a 24-inch 4mm needle to do the double knitting on one sleeve, and I used a 9-inch 4mm needle on another. So the sleeves are a little bit, one sleeve is a little bit bigger than the other. I don't know if you could tell in the video. I don't know if it's obvious that one sleeve is a little bit wider than the other. I don't, you know, it doesn't bother me too much. I don't think it's that noticeable. The other modification that I did is that I decided not to go with the rolled neck, because I am, you know, a natural girl. I have big hair, and pulling that, you know, tube over my head is going to be very, very annoying. It's going to mess up my hair. So I decided that I would go with a kind of crew neck instead. So I followed the instructions, but I just stopped short, and I did the Icelandic is it the Icelandic bind off or the stretchy bind off, yeah, I did like the stretchy bind off just to make sure that I can pull it over my head properly when I need to put it on. So those are the modifications that I did make. But other than that, I followed the pattern. I followed the pattern, I think, for the most part. I really love the details on this, like the 2x2 rib, the cap sleeves. I think you had to do like short row shaping to get the cap sleeves. So I just love how, you know, the rib runs down the shoulder there, and then it wraps around the sleeve like that. I just love how that detail looks. It just looks so pretty seeing that. Like when I have this on, it just looks really nice. Like I think I'll insert a picture of me wearing it just so you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just love the details of this. Yeah, that's it for sweater number 16 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This was definitely one of my best sweaters of all time. So yeah. Right, so the next project that I worked on was the cropped boat neck sweater by Vi or Vbu. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name, so I'll just put everything up on the screen so you can see. This was not made in any specific size. The yarn that I used was the Lion brand Pound of Love in the colorway Cinnabar. And the main modification that I made to this was that the pattern, I think, asked that you use a 6mm needle. I think I used a 5mm needle for the body. So this is what the sweater looks like. A 5mm needle for the body and for the ribbing. So the ribbing on top, the bottom, the cuffs of the sleeves, I used a 4mm needle. And I think I modified the length as well. I think I made it a little more cropped than what the pattern asked for, because I really wanted it to fit more like a crop top. So yeah, I made it a little shorter. But yeah, this is what it looks like. I really love this sweater. Like the first time I saw it, I didn't like it. I used to see this pattern popping up, especially on my Pinterest feed all over, because I think I was searching at the time for a cropped sweater to make, like something resembling a crop top or something, and that one kept popping up, but I just was like, that doesn't really look that cropped to me. But I decided to give the pattern a try anyways, and after looking through, I think, other people's project page on Ravelry, I said, all right, let me give it a try, and I really love it. I've been able to get a lot of use out of this. I've worn it to go out, I've worn it to class, I've worn this so many times for the year last year, and I assume that I'm going to get even more use out of it going forward. It's a very classic shape. It's just a regular, you know, it's another boat neck sweater. Just to mention, this also isn't knit in a round, it's knit in pieces and seamed together. So you knit the front panel, the back panel flat, you knit the sleeves flat, and you just seam everything up using the mattress stitch. And it was a lot better this time doing the mattress stitch to seam this up. I wasn't getting any lopsided pieces, and I think I did a good job seaming this. You could barely really see the seams where I seamed it up. Like, it's not really obvious looking at it, and I think, you know, the material has a lot to do with that too. Like even the body, knitting the front, seaming the front and the back panels together, you can't really see the seams that much, not really. So I think I did a really good job stitching this together. I did make the hole a little bit too small. I could have made the neck a little wider. I could have made this a little wider, because I do find it a little difficult sometimes to stretch it over my head when I put it on, because it is kind of small, in my opinion. Like, my face can barely fit in here. But yeah, it is a little bit small. That was a mistake on my part. You know, I didn't really measure it properly, but other than that, I really like this. I got, you know, significant use out of it. I like the Lion Brand Pound of Love yarn. It washes really nicely. Like when you wash this, and I don't even need to use fabric softener when washing this. Sometimes I just wash it and throw it in the dryer, and I find that it softens up really nicely. You know, some acrylic yarns tend to get very stiff when you wash it, but I find that Lion Brand's acrylics stay soft really well. Like I've washed this several times since I've had it, and it hasn't stiffened up on me yet. It's still pretty soft. It has a decent drape, even for, you know, even though it's a worsted weight yarn, it has a pretty nice drape and flow to it because of how soft the acrylic is. So I really like the Pound of Love yarn from Lion Brand, and I was really happy with the way this turned out and how it's held up so far. I mean, it pills. You can see pills all over. I don't know if you can see it from that distance, but you know, the yarn pills. What you expect that with, you know, acrylic or any yarn, to be quite honest with you. It pills. But other than that, you know, the pilling doesn't really bother me that much because people don't really notice it unless it's like, you know, the big nasty beads of dust that, you know, forms on clothing. You know, people don't really notice it, and it doesn't bother me. So yeah, I really like this project, and I don't know if I'll make another. I think this has satisfied my crop top craving. So yeah, cropped boot neck sweater. So the next project that I made was the Camisole number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I made this using Lion Brand's Truboo yarn in the colorway Mushroom. I think I used about 3 skeins to make this in the size small. So the first time I saw this this camisole was on Orsa Knits podcast. I think she made this with the yarn, the Pure Silk yarn from Knitting for Olive. Now, Knitting for Olive yarn isn't available to me where I am, and if I do import it, it's ridiculously expensive. So I was looking for a yarn that had a silk-like appearance to it, so I decided to go, excuse me, with the Truboo from Lion Brand. Although it's a different weight, I think this is a sport weight or baby weight yarn. I think it worked. It worked for what I needed it for. The only thing I think that frustrated me, because I made this, I actually knitted it the first time in 2021, and the sleeves, the straps, sorry, started stretching a lot. So, and then I think I made a mistake somewhere in the front. I did something wrong with the front, and I decided to rip the entire thing out and remake it last year. And the strap started stretching again to the point that the neckline is far too low for me to be able to wear this on its own, and I want to wear it on its own. Like, I've worn it over a t-shirt before and I didn't really like how it looked. I think it took away from the beauty of the garment. So I want to remake it again this year. I'm going to unravel it and do it over and make these straps like super short, but also I think I'll join the front cups together a lot sooner than what the pattern calls for, just to avoid how deep, you know, the neckline is. So I may have to join it a little sooner, just to avoid that. So this camisole is made from top to bottom. I think the camisole number 2 or number 1, I can't remember, was made bottom up, and it has a very similar appearance to this, but I prefer to do things from top to bottom because I think the sizing comes out a lot better that way. But yeah, I really want to make this over again because I really do love this pattern. It's really, really pretty. I love the color of the yarn. I love how smooth it is, how flat, you know, the stitches lie. It's just like, look how smooth, and it has this nice sheen to it, and it just looks so pretty. And this broken rib, you know, detail, it looks really, really nice. So I definitely want to do this over and do it justice so that I can wear it, because it's a lot of effort that's going into this and I can't wear it. It's annoying. So I'll do it over again for the third time, and hopefully I get it right this time so I can get all the wear out of this, because it's just too pretty to not wear it. Like, look at the color looks so good on my complexion. It's a nice, you know, it looks very, very pink on maybe on camera, but in person it has a purplish hue to it. Although it's pink, yes, it is pink, it does have a kind of purplish hue to it. So I guess that's why they call it mushroom. And I love it so much, and I just want to get the wear out of it. The yarn itself is very soft, very smooth. It's very nice. Camisole number 4. Right. So the next project that I did was the Camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I also made this in the size small using Drops Loves You 7 in the colorway beige. Now this pattern, I knitted this 3 times before I finally settled on this. So this is what the Camisole number 5 looks like, right? I really love this pattern, and I made it once before in 2021, and I'll insert a picture. I didn't really understand the pattern, that's why I kept modifying it, but I think after I made this the 3rd time, I finally, like, it finally clicked. And that's why I love this pattern so much, because I learned so much technique and so much skill from this one pattern, that I would say that this pattern grew me up as a knitter. Like, I really, like, it really stretched my skill as a knitter, and for that I will be forever grateful. And I just think, you know, just this neckline just looks, the first time I saw it and I saw this neckline, I just thought it was so pretty. I just love the double knit detail, you know, the directional ribbing, you know, it just looks really pretty. I did modify, this does have a modification from the original, so I think what I did was that I, the armhole shaping, I made this in a size small, but the armhole shaping itself, I think I did an extra small, so I did fewer increases so that the armhole wouldn't be too deep, because when you're knitting this up, sometimes it can look a little bit scary. Like, the armholes look very deep, but the double knitted edge shortens up the armhole and brings it up. I didn't understand that when I was knitting it, so every time I made it and I saw how deep the armholes was, because it was like below my bust, I was getting scared, and I thought, like, you know, it'll be a little too revealing, you know, my bra is going to be out. And so I kept, you know, making it shorter, and then, you know, once you add the double knitting, you know, it's going to make it even shorter. So I think that was the issue. But after the 3rd time I made this, I finally understood what the pattern was trying to tell me. So yeah, I did this, the double knitting on this is a little thicker than the pattern requires. So I think, I can't remember how many stitches I used, but it's a lot thicker than what the pattern called for. I think I picked up fewer stitches for the neckline as well, because I saw on some people's project pages, this on Ravelry, they said that the neckline could be a bit loose, so they picked up less stitches to kind of tighten it up a bit, because even with using fewer stitches, I did find that I got this kind of rippling effect, kind of like, you know, when the neckline for a t-shirt is stretched out, how it kind of ripples. I was getting that towards the back, it was looking a bit too loose. So even with picking up fewer stitches, I was still getting that. So I ran some elastic thread to the neck to kind of tighten it up and make it look, you know, a little neater and nicer. But overall, I love the Camisole number 5. I will continue making more because I really, really love this pattern. It's just, I just love how the neckline looks. I like how it shapes around the bust before it goes to the underarm. I love everything about this pattern, and now that I understand it a lot better, I will continue making more of it. The Drops Loves You 7 isn't the best cotton, although I like it because it's super cheap. I realized that it hasn't held up very well to washings. Like, it's pilling a lot, and I just don't like the overall appearance. It has gotten a lot drier with washing, so it's losing some of its softness. I would say that the yarn holds the color very well, because I think I purchased about 4 skeins and I only used 3 to make this in a size small. And I, you know, compare it with the unused skein, and the color looks as, you know, the same as it did when, you know, before washing. So I know that color holds up really well, but the material feels even more dry. So I think the Drops Loves You number 7 specifically, that cotton is not exactly the best quality, so I don't know if I will continue using that one. I think I like the Drops Safran cotton a lot better, and I think I may start using that more predominantly for all my cotton knits in the future. I did do the Italian, I think I did the Italian sewn bind off for this, and I don't think I like doing the Italian sewn bind off anymore because it has this weird flare at the bottom. I just cannot get this flare to relax. No matter how much I steam it, it just would not relax. So I think I will stop doing that, but just take a look at this, how pretty this neckline looks. I just love how this top looks. I will continue to make more. I definitely want to try, you know, other colors, you know, in this, and just continue making more. So that's it for the Camisole number 5 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So the next garment that I made was the Friday Tee by Petite Knit, using dropped saffron in sage green and off-white for the stripes. So this is what it looks like. So I initially made this for the hashtag Yarn Love challenge that was done by TL Yarncraft in the month of June last year. So I initially thought that I would have, because this was a tee, I thought I would finish this really quick, because normally it takes me about 2 weeks to knit a sweater. So I thought because it was a tee, I was gonna run through the project pretty quickly. So I thought I would have to knit like really slowly for the challenge, just to stretch it out for the entire month of June. But boy, was I wrong. Doing any garment in broken rib, like a full garment like this, takes forever. As much as I love the result, I love the texture and everything, and it looks really good, this was painful to do. Like, it took forever. I love the detail, I love the jim and short row shaping that was done to the back. You know, it gives this really nice kind of look, like the stripes are growing out of the neckline to the back here. And you know, the folded collar is really thick and nice, and it has a nice structure. Although I added elastic thread to it to kind of hold it up, it really didn't need the elastic thread. Like, on its own, it holds up really nicely. It doesn't feel like it's gonna stretch and get, you know, loose over time or anything like that. I think the main modification that I made to this was I made it longer than what the pattern asked for, just because I wanted it to kind of fit, you know, on my hips. You know, that's more or less how I wanted to wear it. I did use the tubular, I used the tubular binder for the sleeves and the bottom, and I realized that I don't really like the tubular bind off. I don't like the look of it. Like, after washing it a few times, it kind of neatened up a little bit, but the tubular bind off does tend to flare a lot. But, you know, I just kind of wanted it to look, you know, really finished and polished and everything, so I just did the tubular bind off for that purpose. But I don't think I'll be using it in future anymore. I think I might stick to the Icelandic bind off because it just looks neater. But yeah, this was a very painful project to do, and I did make a mistake because as far as I know I followed the pattern, but for some reason when I was knitting the body, the beginning of the round was a purl stitch, so it made it really difficult for me to switch when making these stripes. So there's this weird line that I got to the back. I don't know if it's noticeable on camera, but you're seeing this weird line going down the back from where I switch between the green and the white to get the stripes. It's not that noticeable, but it's noticeable to me. Whenever I wear it, I do, if I turn around, I do see it. But I mean, I don't expect anybody to be staring at my back, to be quite honest, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. That's it for the Friday tee. I really like it. I may make another in future, but not anytime soon because this took forever, and if I do remake it, I'm going to do it in a solid color instead of stripes, just to make life easy on myself. So yeah, Friday tee. Bye.
Hey guys, editing me here. When recording this video, I did not realize how long it was going to be, so I have to stop the video here for now. I will drop part 2 a little bit later, but I hope this video gave you some good ideas of what patterns you would like to try, and I hope you enjoy it. So I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.